Hello everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to ChasingCinema.com's official YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jacob Tiranno, and it is Shark Week. Yes, today on the Discovery Channel, it is Shark Week. However, if you follow me on Twitter and Instagram, which if you don't, shame, that information right here, you would know that last week I made my own Shark Week. That's right. This is my week 25 update of the 365-day challenge where I watch a new movie every single day, and this is my weekly recap. So, technically, this is my recap of the Chasing Cinema Shark Week. That's right. So, if you found this video because you were searching Shark Week, check it out, because I'm going to be talking about some awesome shark movies. I watched 7 days full of shark movies that I've never seen before. Now, as you can see, big Jaws fan. Talked about it many a time. And I'm going to go out and watch the Jaws sequels for the first time, as well as some other famous shark movies. So let's hop right into it. I'm going to first start off with a movie that I remember people talking about all the time and not nicely. Open Water. Day 169 of my 365-day movie challenge, I decided to go attack that. Now, this movie, if you've not seen it, is a point-of-view film, a found footage type movie of these two people. Well, not found footage, but steady. It's all handheld, you know, so a lot of it's like, okay, we're in the water, we're moving a lot, and a lot of people just didn't feel that it brought much execution. But I found this movie to be surprisingly smart and simple, and it deals with more than just sharks, right? Like, besides Jaws, the epitome of shark films, which is one of the greatest films of all time, one of my all-time favorite movies ever made, that movie has to do with an evil shark. This movie's enemies are sharks, but more or less being stranded in the ocean, being lonely, feeling lost, feeling empty, feeling defeat. And I think that's what makes this movie already so much interesting than the shark movies that I have seen. You know, most of them just want a crazy killer shark. I mean, that's why they make sharks so crazy. They make Sharknado, they make sand sharks, they make octopus sharks, they make the craziest type of shark in the world. But this movie didn't use sharks as a tool. I mean, they were more just the kind of the cherry on the cake, if you will, or the cherry on the icing, or whatever you'd like to call it. Because this movie really explores these two people being trapped and alone together. And I think that's why it works so well. It doesn't offer very good performances. Like, it's not a movie you want to see that if you want Oscar-worthy performances. You could tell this movie was made on a very small budget, on a very small scale. And it's not very attractive, you know. Some of the shots are a little bit out of focus. Some of it's a little bit grainy. And it's, for some people who have motion sickness, bouncing up in the water for about an hour and a half isn't the way you want to handle it. But it takes a sophisticated approach, you know, and I really kind of enjoy that it didn't go or try to copy the Jaws style or method, if you will. It's just about two people alone, waiting and dreading death. And I think that's an interesting topic. Like, I think that's an interesting, as this couple is fighting and being angry with each other, you know, they're dealing with the fact that they might not be rescued. I'd recommend that one. That was a good one. Go check it out. Next, day 170 of Shark Week, also known as week 25, I watched the 2011 film Shark Night 3D. I just feel like I needed to present it in that voice. Shark Night 3D, a movie that came out, and I remember also coming out, but never seeing it because I'm really loyal to Jaws, right? Like, I'm really loyal to it, and I just think every shark movie that's come out since Jaws has never been able to match it. And I would argue that Jaws is the first film to really perfect a subgenre, right? Like, it perfected the shark movie, and no one will be able to beat it. I just don't see it happening because people love so much Jaws so much, and there's so many things that movie does just dead on that it's going to be hard to replicate. Anyway, enough about it. We'll get to Jaws in a second. Shark Week 3D was quite puzzling. How can I explain? Here, let me show you what. This is how it was like watching the movie with me. Wait, what? Wait, what? I mean, wait, what was like my line I uttered at least 100 times watching this movie. And that's because the movie doesn't really make much sense. Like, I don't think this movie is god-awful. I mean, it's bad, right? It's not a good shark movie. But it's just blah. Like, it's not bad enough for me to hate. It's just bland, right? It doesn't have any really exciting shark attacks or interesting-looking sharks, for that matter. Like, it tries to bring in different species of sharks. And there was one that I thought was really cool, the cookie cutter shark, but it's just kind of thrown in there, and I don't think they actually even look really like they're not a well representation of the real life thing. But these movies, they look very CGI, and it just doesn't have that like terrifying effect. And it has a really outlandish plot, filled with again really bad performances. It's just another terrible shark movie that just doesn't make sense, right? Here, like I'll break it down for you. Let me hear. I'll explain to you the plot of the movie if you have not seen it, and then you take what you will. Shark Night 3D is about a bunch of guys who take sharks and put them in a saltwater lake with cameras attached to them, so that they could eat people. They could set up and have them eat people, record it, and then sell it to you Shark Week fans. That's right, because you Shark Week fans are so obsessed. The hardcore ones of you would pay top dollar to watch some real shark eating and munching on people. Yikes, that is the plot of that movie, and that was just... God. And I could just tell, it was only day 2 of this week, and I was already feeling iffy about going on. Day 171 of the movie challenge and day 3 of Shark Week, I watched The Reef, the Australian film from 2010, which I thought was also simple and effective, right? Like, it's not a great movie, but I think it works for what it is. With all the outrageous shark movies that I discovered this week or looked at and debated on which 7 I would watch, this isn't bad. Like, this is a decent movie, right? Not great. No Jaws, of course, but something different, and I found myself enjoying the movie. Like, I didn't love it, I didn't really hate it, it was just mediocre, but I didn't despise the movie. I thought it was an alright watch. If you want to do a shark marathon yourself, I'd say put this one on your list. It works more than the average shark film because it doesn't focus on cool deaths or a lot of gore. It just focuses on building suspense, right? Like, that's what Jaws did great. Sure, we did get bloody and gory, and that does occur very small in this picture, but it's all about that suspense, right? It's all about worrying. Like, I don't think we see a shark in this movie for like the first hour. Like, we just keep thinking that there are sharks here, or I shouldn't say we don't see a shark in the first hour, but we don't see like an aggressive attack or anything. But this movie just really works on building suspense. It also, and what I would say is the best part about this movie, is that it passes on CGI and animatronics, and it uses real, actual footage of sharks filmed in South Australia. So they would actually go and film these sharks, and then they edit it into the film as these characters are like going down to look and see what's under them. And to me, I think that was kind of where this movie surpasses its competitors, because it actually took that leap of not just creating some CGI, poor-looking shark, but really tried to make something worthwhile to look at. It doesn't offer really any intriguing characters or like wonderful performances, which is a reoccurring thing in Jaws or in shark movies, not in Jaws. But it does offer some fun, thrilling moments, and I think that was worth watching. Moving on. Now here is where I stepped in the deep end, if you will, for Shark Week. Love Jaws, and because I love Jaws so much, I've refused to watch the sequels. That's right. 2, 3, and 4. Oh, 4, 3, and 2. I just didn't have the desire because I felt they weren't going to do the film justice. And plus, I liked where that movie ended. I liked how that story was completed. I didn't need to see what it continued on to. And boy, I should have stuck with my gut. Because let me tell you, these are not very good. And those of you who've seen those probably know that already. But let me move on. First one I watched was Jaws 2. The only sequel that I'd recommend. But if you really love Jaws, you might want to watch this because you're such an avid fan. But It's not necessary. It's an unneeded sequel. I mean, the major flaw of this movie is it doesn't really build that suspense. It doesn't really make us nervous. It's just more about a shark chasing a lot of screaming teens, you know. It's nowhere close to the beloved the predecessor, but I didn't hate it, right? Like, I don't think it's as bad. Like, they're not very good, but this is not a bad film by any means. You know, it offers a solid return performance from Roy Schneider. And he's good in the movie. Like, I enjoyed watching him again. I enjoyed seeing his story kind of continue. But you're not invested in anyone else. You're not invested in all these kids. And because of that, I would just say it was, you know, I really wanted to like it. And I think this story could be interesting. And I'll tell you, again, when I talk about The Revenge, because I think this movie and The Revenge could have went in really interesting places, and I'll tell you more about that. But if you need to see more Jaws and you're desperate, watch Jaws 2. But I'm telling you now, stop there. Anyway, moving on. The following day, unfortunately, my schedule got flip-flopped, so I had to break apart these films. As day 173, I watched the new film starring Blake Lively called The Shallows. And my Shallow review is up there. Just click that white eye and links below down. You'll be able to see my review for Shallows, Independence Day, Free State of Jones, my latest filmmaker interview, which is really awesome, and some other stuff. My last week's recap and a bunch of other cool stuff. But for a quick little recap, because I would really like you to watch that movie review. The Shallows was cool. Like, I mean, The Shallows worked for me. I think Blake Lively was quite good in it. I think the movie gave us some really good thrills. There was an interesting kind of theme about the movie going on. The shark looked good. I mean, I don't think the shark looked awful, right? Like, I think the shark was a pretty sufficient CGI shark. It got some good thrills. I mean, it was a solid movie. Again, kind of like The Reef, you know, like, when you have that bar set on such a perfect movie, it's hard to compete. And I hate comparing every shark movie to Jaws, but it's hard not to. Because my example is, but this is how it should be done, and it just so happens that's how Jaws did it. But overall, I mean, I think this was a very good movie, a very good modern shark story that I found entertaining, about a character that I was interested in, that had some good thrills, and if you want to know more, hit that review. But all right, as Matthew McConaughey would say, moving on to day 174, when I really made the mistake of watching Jaws 3. A deadly new attraction, because Jaws 3 takes place in SeaWorld, which I was like, wow, what an interesting way to sponsor a movie. Like, oh, we'll do the next Jaws movie, we'll get great sponsorship. But then I was like, well, I don't know if advertising that you have a killer shark in your waters and, you know, you could possibly be eaten in the park is a good publicity stunt, right? Like, I'm kind of confused on that. But anyway, it reminded me, this movie, Jaws 3D or Jaws 3, whatever, whichever you prefer, reminded me why I did not want to watch the sequels. Because they take a great, epic, brilliant piece of cinema and they turn it into this. A movie where a shark gets into a theme park and it's in 3D, so it has these, like, okay, obviously it doesn't look like how it's supposed to, but the 3D effects are just, all of these movies. They have rescuing dolphins. They have dolphins that come to the rescue, and it's just like, oh my god, what's going on? So, I don't know. But Dennis Quaid's in this movie, by the way. He plays one of Brody's sons, Chief Brody, plays Michael. And his other brother Sean is also in the film, but it's not very good. It's below mediocre, and that's being kind. It doesn't bother to create tension or suspense, and it doesn't take the time to really and efficiently shoot the shark to create that suspense. You know, we get those underwater scenes, but they aren't creating that scare. And then when we see some of the effects, it's just so bad it's hard to like. Like, one of the most famous scenes is the shark coming through this glass, and the shark's not even moving. Like, it's just getting closer to the closer to the screen, but it's not swimming. And you're just like, oh god. I mean, it's really, instead of being good and suspenseful, it's tacky. It has awful effects, and it's just, I mean, I could have put a different name on this movie and it's just as bad as like Sand Shark or all these other films. I really dislike this movie, especially with the saving dolphins and oh man, woof. And then finally, oh, actually, I got one more thing. I said it's silly and it's impossible to get invested in. If I didn't mention that, the shark's just not unnerving. It's not a good movie. It's not a good horror film. It's not a good shark movie. It's not a good movie in general. So then I concluded this week with Jaws: The Revenge. I'm still debating which of these was worse. Like, I really didn't like this movie. This movie is kind of bad camp. Like you're like, oh, that's kind of ridiculous. Like, they just throw logic out the window here in this movie. Right? Well, actually, in this one kind of too. But this one tried to be, like, serious. This one I was kind of more like, this is ridiculous. But I'm kind of enjoying the ridiculousness of it. But they were both pretty bad. Okay, let me get into Jaws: Revenge. So, I think this movie is an insult to Jaws fans. Because, like, if you put Jaws: The Revenge, you know, none of these should be, besides Jaws 2, these should never have been Jaws movies. Like, this is not Jaws. They just put the name on there to sell sharks, right? And 2 wasn't that great either. But, I mean, these are just, like, it would be cool if they just, like, stuck with Amity and went through, like, I would even understand if they went through the motions again. Because that makes more sense than going to this crazy length. So, SeaWorld, saving dolphins. 2, a movie that has an avenging shark and a woman who has a psychic, telepathic, mental connection with it. What? That's right, guys. This shark, whoever the hell it is, because Jaws 1, he dies. Jaws 2, shark dies. Jaws 3, even though, from what I watched in this movie, it does not acknowledge anything like this. Because in this movie, her son works at SeaWorld, and her other someone else. In this one, he's a scientist, and the other one's a chief at Amityville. Amity Island. So it's like Jaws 3 didn't happen. They're like, all right, forget that movie. We're going to bring you some real Jaws. And in this movie, it's about a shark who we have no idea relation or friend to the original Jaws or original Bruce. Wants revenge. So he seeks out the Brody family on his own. And wait. So after an incident, Chief Brody's wife, is the wife from 1 and 2, moves with her son into the Bahamas because great whites don't like warm water. Sharks don't like warm water. Guess what? This shark swims halfway across the country to get this woman. And this woman is able to sense it. I could feel him. Like that. And you're just like, what? Wait, what? And she is also, like, throughout the movie, she has, like, these flashbacks of these memories she was never there for, right? So, like, for instance, someone dies in the beginning, I won't say who, and she's not there at all. But she, like, reminisces the death that we've seen, but she wasn't there. So I don't know how she remembers that. And she remembers Roy Scheider killing the first shark in Jaws, and she wasn't there for that either. So it's just like, wait, what? This is getting weird. And I broke this down with the only way I know how, with question time. I asked, who is the shark? Like, how is it related to Bruce? As a friend, relative? It's just so sloppy, guys. Like, this movie is sloppy, and it doesn't care to honor the legend that is Jaws. It was all about the money. But it's kind of so bad that it might be worth watching for a laugh. For instance, that's another one of my questions. Michael Caine is in this movie. Very young Michael Caine. I actually think he's quite funny. Quite interesting. He drives a plane. At one point, he drives a plane in the water, gets onto a boat, and he's not even wet. And it's just like, wait, why isn't he... Wait, what? What? Oh, why isn't he wet? And he actually didn't... I forget what... the 83... What was this I say? 87... Michael Caine didn't accept his Oscar because he was filming this movie. Big mistake. And why the hell... Okay, spoiler alert. If you don't want to know how this movie ends, fast forward me for a second. At the end of the movie, these her son, his friend, and the mom are all on the boat. Michael Caine, they're all figuring out what they're going to do with the shark. So they use this magnetic pulse thing, and they throw it into Jaws' mouth, or stick it in Jaws' mouth. And the other one's supposed to like drive him crazy. It makes this sound, has this magnetic pulse. The shark is roaring. I don't know why, but it's roaring. And all of a sudden, like, it's like going crazy and like jumping out of the water. And the mom's like, I gotta end this once and for all. Drives the boat's like point right through it, and it blows up. And I was like, why the hell did it blow up? Did the magnetic pulse thing, like, is that a bomb kind of thing? I don't know. I was confused, and I just didn't care. It would have, but here, before I finish, I'm going to wrap it up like this. So this one has Chief Brody, Roy Schneider, like, realizing there's a shark there, and no one believes him. Everyone thinks he's just mentally unstable. There's like a great scene, actually, in this movie where he runs and he starts shooting this school of fish because he thinks that's a shark on the beach. And everyone's like, oh, damn, he lost his mind. In this movie, this woman, who after someone's death, thinks that a shark is after them. Either of these movies would have actually been more interesting had there been no shark. Like, imagine Roy Schneider, like, shooting those fish and like, oh my god, there's a shark again. And him actually being crazy because of the events of Jaws. Like, that's to me, I'm like, I'm there. But I know everyone's like, it's Shark Week, we want to see sharks. But I'm just saying, think about it. How interesting would that be? Right? Same thing with this one. This woman has gone through like an array of horrible things in her lifetime. She should be crazy. So when she's like, oh, the shark's coming after us, someone could be like, all right, you need to go to a mental hospital. You're crazy. But nope, that's not the case. Anyway, that's how I would have done it. It would have been a shock to everyone. But I would have led everyone on to make them think there was a shark. I would just been like, nope, no shark. They're crazy. Haha. Oh, that was another thing that really pissed me off. So Roy Schneider's not in this movie. No surprise. And they say he died of fear. Like, he doesn't even die on screen, but we find out Roy Schneider died of fear. And, like, you got a badass character like Roy Schneider, who is like the badass from Jaws and Jaws 2, and he just dies of fear. I don't buy that. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for Shark Week. Mr. Vegas film critic, Jeffrey K. Howard, thank you so much for lending me these films. I appreciate it. That's going to wrap it up for me and my Week 25 movie reviews. Make sure to follow me again every time I'm watching movies. I tweet them every single day, right here, Jacob Tiranno. This week I'm just doing a bunch of random stuff. We have a lot of movie screenings at the theaters, so I'm going to be just doing a random week again. In July, we'll start going and doing some interesting stuff, interesting themes. I got a lot of people who want me to watch some stuff. So we'll get into that. Thank you so much. Watch my, every week, I do a recap every Monday. It usually publishes on Tuesday. If you discovered me from Shark Week, you just Google YouTube Shark Week and I came up. Awesome. Subscribe. Make sure I give you all your movie reviews. I talk about movies and film and review old and new and interview filmmakers. Check out the channel, chasingcinema.com. That's my official website. You can hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jacob Tiranno, and please continue chasing cinema.